Brahmarishi Vashishta and Brahmarishi Vishwamitra, they worship Lord Ram. According to them, Lord Ram is like a bridge. And he's a bridge that helps you cross from this world to the other world, from the material world to the spiritual world.
जय धारी माँ, हरे कृष्णा। जय धारी माँ, हमारी ऑडियंसेस का बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। आइए जुड़िए। आज हम एक नई सीरीज शुरू करेंगे, रामायण रोर विद करेज। शुभा जी ने लिखी है। मेरी बात के दो हिस्से हैं। पहला चैप्टर के बारे में, just to set the tone, and then we would like to know our dearest Shubha ji. ये जो चैप्टर है इसका नाम है The Angry Curse Turns into a Glorious Verse. बहुत कुछ हमारा लिमिटेड माइंड नहीं समझ सकता. You have to see and look at life from the eyes of faith. Only then, with their grace, a curse gets converted into a blessing. ये चैप्टर उसी के बारे में है. रामायण का जन्म हुआ. रामायण was revealed to us, for us. ये किताब शुभा जी ने लिखी है. ये एक सीरीज है. हम 6th बुक थिंक बिग टू विन कर चुके हैं. अब हम पहली पर आए हैं. That's how we started. ये देखिए, मैं आपको दिखाती हूँ. ये 4 किताबें और हैं इस सीरीज की. Conquer change, adopt patience, stand strong, radiate confidence. ये सब पे चर्चा होने वाली है. ये पहली किताब है. शुभा जी, you've written a beautiful dedication, and the acknowledgements and the author's note is very, very blessed. आप उसके बारे में पहले बताएं, and जो आपकी नई किताब आ रही है उसके बारे में चर्चा करें, उसके बारे में बताएं. And then Shubha ji, we start our conversation about the first chapter. जी.
This book series, Ramayan, the Game of Life, I wrote it with the intention that the Ramayan should reach as many people as possible, and it should be very easy for people to understand it and appreciate the Ramayan. The book series is called Ramayan, the Game of Life, because I strongly felt that the Ramayan is directly related to our lives. It can help us play the game of our life very well. And that is why the entire series is focused on how every small section in the Ramayan, every small minute detail in the Ramayan can teach us something for our lives. So that is the mood in which I have written the book. This book is dedicated to my teachers, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, with whom I have learned so much. And it is dedicated to some of my very, of course, I also dedicated it to my parents, to my brother, And my very close friend Gaur Krishna Bhu, he passed away that particular year when the book was released. Actually, he left in an unfortunate plane crash in Nepal. So he was one of the people that really pushed me to write that book. So that's how I dedicated the first book to him and to all my teachers who have been literally my guides. I've held their hand and walked on the path of spirituality, and with their blessings, I was able to write something.
Shubha ji, about your new book.
Yeah. I'll just quickly show you all the book.
Ji,
Just give
ji,
me one moment.
ji, we are waiting, Shubha ji. Shubha ji is also showing his new book.
Here
New book.
is my latest book. It's just about to be launched. It's called Ancient Wisdom to Elevate Your Mind. And the tagline says 50 Stories from Indian Epics. So, this book is a collection of, in my understanding, 50 of the most fascinating stories that are there in the scriptures. I have sifted through thousands of stories and picked up 50 of my favorite. And each story ends with a nugget of wisdom. So the way in which the book is written is, I don't know if I'm. So the la
Yes.
is it
जी,
visible a little bit now?
वो print नजर आ
Yes.
रहा है, but
Yeah. So this part. So at the end of every story, there is a like a lesson that one can learn from the story. It's called life musings. So if you see here, this is a
Kasana.
life musing from the whole story. So every story ends with a powerful one paragraph meditation, and these paragraphs are powerful, really, really intense, and it sums up the story. But most importantly, it relates the story to your life. So this book is called Ancient Wisdom to Elevate Your Mind. I actually wrote a book last year called Timeless Tales to Ignite Your Mind. So this is a second part of that. So the first one is was stories from India. Those are not scripture-based stories, but these are all scripture-based stories. So that's the series.
so we
Uh,
have another book now to for more sessions. We have another book. We have another book. Ji. Shubha ji, we'll start with our. This is also blessed. We will start with our first chapter.
yes.
आपने लिखा है spiritual knowledge is revealed. It's not researched. You can't research spiritual knowledge. It's revealed. It was revealed to Valmiki ji by Lord Narada and Lord Brahma, who came to him to make him aware that this knowledge has been revealed to you. Don't be in such a dilemma. But it was a curse being converted into a blessing by their grace. Ji Shubha ji, all about that story and that revealing. Ji.
In my understanding,
Can I say? Can I request you?
please,
Since
Ji.
we've
please.
gone into chapter reading now, please reveal the chapter. Tell us the chapter from the beginning till the end. It's a beautiful story. And how did Valmiki get the message to write? Why did he write in verse? Right? So,
Ji.
and number two, what tapasya he had to do to get this boon from Narad. So I think tell us this story on your own. Tell us the story of your chapter from the beginning because it comes out beautifully. Sana has asked you a question. That question can be answered now as a story because we're now going to go chapter wise. Tell the listeners, listen to chapter one. We don't pick and choose. Please narrate us the chapter one. This is what our
Ji.
feeling is because it is very, and then we'll ask you questions once you narrate the chapter.
Ji.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Ji Shubha
Okay.
ji.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Ji. Ji.
Thank you. Thank you. So the Ramayana begins with a question. Actually, all the scriptures connected to the Vedic culture, they are in the form of questions and answers. A, a student who is eager to learn asks question to a qualified teacher. Scriptures are not researched. It's not that you go and sit in a library and open up books and you read the scriptures and understand it. That is not how scriptures understood. Narad Muni was a great sage, a great guru, and Valmiki went to Narad Muni in a very humble, submissive mood and asked Narad Muni questions. The Valmiki Ramayan begins with this question. The question that Valmiki Muni asked Narada was, who is that person who is perfect? So he had a series of 24 questions to ask, which actually elaborated so many qualities of a perfect human being. So when Valmiki asked all these questions to Narad Muni, he asked Narad Muni, can you tell me someone who has all these qualities in him in completeness? I want to know who is such a person. So Narad Muni was stunned when he heard that question because the question itself was so deep. The beauty of the Vedic culture is that the question itself has such depth in them. Like, for example, in the Mahabharata, there is a whole section in the Mahabharata known as Yaksha Prashna, where Yaksha asks Yudhishthir 124 questions. The most amazing part of that whole series, that whole discussion, is that the discussion is not known by the answers. The discussion is known by the questions only. So that means the question itself is so deep that it is worth having an entire discussion on those questions. Similarly, the entire Ramayan began with this single question of Valmiki Muni towards his teacher, Narad Muni. You can ask questions to anyone, but if you do not ask the right person the right questions, all you will get is word jugglery. Narad Muni was a bona fide teacher. And because Valmiki, with the right frame of mind, asked a bona fide teacher a good question, he got such an amazing answer. Narad Muni, when Valmiki asked that question, for a moment he became stunned. He closed his eyes and really began to absorb himself in the answer to that question. And the answer to that question was Ram. The word Ram popped out in Narad Muni's mind because he said the only person who has all these qualities in completeness is Lord Ram. And the moment Narad Muni thought of Lord Ram, he had tears in his eyes. His body was trembling in ecstasy, and his hair stood on end. And then Narad Muni, after a pause, began to speak the Ramayana. He narrated the story of Lord Ram, who had all these qualities that Valmiki wanted to know in completeness, to Valmiki Muni, in essence. And Valmiki Muni was so grateful to his teacher, Narada, for having inspired him with that answer. And then eventually, Valmiki goes to the river bank with his disciple Bharadwaj Muni to have a bath. Sages follow a particular route every day and they have a particular schedule every day. Most of us in our lives, we don't follow any schedules, and we kind of like change, isn't it? But the greatness of sages is that they follow such a strict discipline that no matter what, every single day they do the exact same thing. And that kind of strict discipline actually helps them conquer their mind very powerfully. The mind always demands for change, the mind always demands for newness. But the path of sadhana is a path of discipline. The sages stick to the same path on a daily basis, year after year. Valmiki was used to this kind of a regime, and one particular day, Valmiki actually broke his regime. Uh, Instead of going to the Ganga river, which he was usually used to going, He one particular day went to the Tamasa river, and he went with his disciple Bharadwaj Muni. So when a sage like Valmiki makes a change, that it simply means he is directed by the Paramatma to do so. It simply means that the Lord wants him to do so. And that's exactly what happened. On that particular day, because he went to another river to have a bath, this story happened. And if he had not gone to that river to have a bath on that particular day, the story wouldn't have happened. What happened was he was bathing in one section of the Tamasa river. He went, just walked into the water, and he found that section of the Tamasa river was a little muddy. And he tells Bharadwaj Muni that let us go to another section of the Tamasa river. So that means even where he enters the river was almost predestined, was almost guided by the Supreme Lord within his heart. So he walked out of that section of the Tamasa river and he told Bharadwaj Muni a very beautiful thing. He said, the water should be pure like the mind of a sage. What a beautiful analogy, isn't it? So he said, the water in which we bathe should be pure like the mind of a sage. Our minds are muddled up. There's so much muck, there is so much dirt, there is so much chaos in it. It's not exactly like the pure waters of a lake or a river, but it's all messy, it's all muddled up. But a sage's mind is crystal clear, pure. And Valmiki wanted to have a bath in only such a section of the river that is completely pure. So he got up from that section and went into another section of the river and he was having a bath in the river. And while Valmiki was having a bath, on the other side of the river, he saw two beautiful birds sitting on a tree and spending quality time with each other. They were known as the crowncher birds. This crowncher is a very special species of birds that are known for one particular special quality of all the things they are known for. The special quality of these crowncher birds is that when a male and female crowncher bird come together, they never part from each other and they never look at any other mate. They remain loyal to each other for life. That's the specialty of the crowncher bird. And that is why when Valmiki saw the two crowncher birds spending time together in such a loving way, he smiled. The amazing thing here is that Valmiki is a sage. He's not really connected with love stories and Bollywood songs and stuff like that. That's not what his life is about. Valmiki is a sage, and yet when he sees love between two species of birds, he actually smiles because all love in this world is essentially emanating from love for God only. Whatever love we can experience in this world is a spark of that original pure love for God. So when Valmiki saw the crowncher birds loving each other, he smiled because he could recognize it's an ansha, it's a spark of the pure love that a living entity has for God only. And any love that is true and genuine is actually a reflection of the purest form of love. And Valmiki, he was admiring the loyalty of the birds, he was admiring the love for each other they have, he was admiring the spiritual connection to the concept of love. And then suddenly, something shocking and tragic happens. An arrow shoots rapidly and hits the male bird, and the male bird collapses on the ground, agonized in pain. And in a moment, it dies. And the female croucher bird is crying in desperation, crying in so much pain and agony. Valmiki is shocked at the cruelty of the hunter who is unable to see the beauty of love manifesting there among these two birds. When Valmiki saw the female bird struggling so much, he uttered out a curse at the hunter who hit the croucher bird mercilessly. And the verse that Valmiki uttered out, it came in a very rhyming and rhythmic fashion. Beautiful verse in Sanskrit, um, in a meter which is known as Anushtup Chandaha. That is the name of the meter in which Valmiki spoke that verse. And when Valmiki uttered that verse, he was actually shocked because what was he doing? He was cursing the hunter. But he was shocked at two things. One, why did he curse? Because hunters keep hunting. That's their profession. And when hunters hunt, some animals or birds do die. But at this particular juncture, why did Valmiki get so angry at the act of a hunter? Because Valmiki is staying in a forest. He's used to seeing hunters do this kind of stuff. And this is the part of their livelihood. So Valmiki was shocked why he cursed like that. He was shocked at the anger that is spewing out from his mouth. He was shocked at the kind of anger that he exhibited suddenly. And more than that, he was shocked that that anger that he spoke the curse in was so melodious, was so rhythmic. All of us get angry at some point of time or the other, isn't it? When we are angry, can we be creative? When someone is angry and upset with somebody else, can they abuse in a poetic fashion? Obviously not, because most of the time when we are angry, we don't even know what we're speaking. And when we're angry, nothing creative comes out. It's only something destructive that happens. Even the relationship that is there gets destroyed, isn't it? In bouts of anger, human beings make the biggest mistakes of their life. Seldom does creativity happen in an angry spirit. Valmiki was even shocked. How did he speak such a beautiful Sanskrit poetry in the middle of so much anger? And then Valmiki, with great disappointment in his heart, first of all, whenever you get angry, you always feel guilty, isn't it? Whether you're right or wrong, that doesn't matter. But immediately following anger is always a little period of guilt. So Valmiki was feeling very guilty that, why did he get so angry and so upset? And why did he curse a hunter like that? And he was coming back. As he was coming back towards his ashram, in his mind, this verse was constantly running. He reached back to his ashram, still the verse was running. He began to teach his disciples and do his regular duties. Still the verse was running in his mind. He was just not able to get that angry verse out of his mind. And just when he was, struggling with so much of, difficulty in trying to get that out of his mind, suddenly something amazing happens in the ashram. Descends the swan carrier of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma doesn't come randomly. He comes only when someone does great tapasya and invokes and qualifies to invoke him. In this particular case, Valmiki didn't do anything except chanted one verse. And Brahma appeared himself without being invoked at all. And Brahma walks into the ashram of Valmiki. Valmiki is shocked and amazed at the presence of the creator of the universe. And Valmiki falls at the feet of Brahma, seeks his blessings, and Brahma tells him, please chant that verse again. And Valmiki, he doesn't understand how Brahma comes to know about it. And then Brahma tells him, I sent Saraswati to sit on the tip of your tongue and make you speak that verse. And Brahma told him, that verse is the first verse of the Ramayan that you're going to write. And he told him, I bless you that you write the story of Lord Ram and you write it in the same meter as the first verse. So the entire Ramayan, which is made about 24,000 verses, begins with that one verse, and the entire Ramayan is written in the same meter, which is Anushtup Chanda. And Valmiki, with the blessings of Lord Brahma, he actually gets the ability to see everything that happened in Lord Ram's life. Brahma blesses him with divine vision, that he understands every single thing that happens in the story of the Ramayana, even when he was not present. He also gets gives him a blessing to understand the feelings of the characters in the story as they're experiencing it and going through it. He gets the blessings of understanding even subtle things that nobody would have understood by observing such the different incidences. And most importantly, Brahma blesses him that your story, the Valmiki Ramayana, will remain eternally present on earth. As long as there are mountains, as long as rivers run, as long as there are oceans, as long as the wind blows, till that much time, the Ramayana will remain. And as long as the Ramayana remains, your name will be connected with it. The blessings of Brahma still continues till date. Till today, lakhs of years later, still every second year, a new book on Ramayana gets written. Every second year, a new movie on the Ramayana comes out. Every second year, there is someone, doing Ram Katha somewhere and reciting the Ramayana somewhere. Ramayana is going to remain eternal because the blessings of Lord Brahma is connected with it. And as long as the Ramayana remains, Valmiki, in his glory, is going to remain. And we have to be eternally indebted to this great saint for helping us, or rather revealing to us the story of the Ramayana. So this is, in a sense, the
जी,
chapter, the first chapter of this book.
Shubha ji, namo to what you've said. Shubha ji, a couple of questions which are all very interconnected. Number one coming to my mind is how important is the vessel, how important is the container, how important it is to keep the vessel clean, because the Ramayana was revealed to Valmiki ji. The other part is, if you could tell all of us, 24,000 verses, 640 chapters, 6 books, एंड आपने रामायण की कथा के बारे में बात करी, तो वो जो लास्ट पार्ट है वो भी पूछ रही हूँ कि नन्हे नन्हे लव कुश ने ये कथा का गीत गाया, एंड गायत्री मंत्र का और रामायण का जो जोड़ है, मिलन है, वो बताएं. एंड इसी में एक और बात कि रामायण तो माँ सीता की कथा है, वो भी बताएं कि ये सबका मिलन कैसे हुआ, और वाल्मीकि जी के बारे में, क्योंकि द कंटेनर, द वेसल वाज रेडी टू होल्ड दिस नॉलेज. जी.
Also, in his chapter, he's written about the sage is born. How was the sage born? You've written in this chapter. Tell us, because we are in your first chapter. While you answer Saina's questions, tell us. I think it's a very important story you've written in your pages. This is page 9 onwards.
Sure.
Sage is born. Please tell us.
So I'll answer each of the questions one after another. So when Valmiki was blessed by Lord Brahma, Valmiki began to write the Ramayana. He wrote the entire Ramayana in 24,000 verses, divided them into 6 kands, or sections, chapters you can call them. And the interesting thing about the Ramayana is that the 24,000 verses of the Ramayana, every 1,000 verses, the first letter of the 1,000 verses, every 1,000 verses, is, if you look at it from the beginning to the end, it reveals the Gayatri Mantra. So the entire Gayatri Mantra is spread through the Ramayana in these parts of 1,000 verses each. And imagine the intelligence of Valmiki Muni. Imagine the ability of someone. I mean, these were days when there was no printing presses. These were days when there was no Word docs and softwares that you could map things in and all that. They were writing on palm leaves, and that was small palm leaves. So, how can someone have the ability to comprehend so much and be so precise and accurate that exactly, after writing 24,000 verses, every thousandth verse, the first letter constitutes the Gayatri Mantra? This is not possible unless and until there is such empowerment and such blessing from the divine. This is not about intelligence, isn't it? There are a lot of intelligent people in this world, but this is beyond intelligence actually, because here all logic fails. So Valmiki, after he wrote the entire Ramayana, in those days there were no published books as such. The only way knowledge could be disseminated is through oral reception. Interestingly, the cycle, it gets completed, right? Today most people hear podcasts. People don't read books, so we're kind of going back to that old cycle of shravanam. That means people just don't have the ability to read books anymore. So Valmiki, he wanted someone who could go and propagate the Ramayana to the world, and he was looking for who is the right person to actually propagate the Ramayana. And he realized the answer to that question is right in his ashram. Mother Sita was staying in his ashram at that point in time. And the sons of Mother Sita, Lava and Kush, were being raised in the ashram of Valmiki Muni. And Valmiki, when he looked at these two boys, he realized they are the most qualified people to share the Valmiki Ramayana with the world. And then Valmiki Muni trained up Lava and Kush. He not only trained them up in the verses of the Valmiki Ramayana, but he also trained them up in the mood. So that means when they are reciting the Ramayana, people who hear their recitation experience the exact same mood in which Valmiki wrote it and in which the characters of the Ramayana lived it. So Valmiki trained them up thoroughly. There's a very big difference between words and feelings. A lot of times we convey words, but we forget to convey the feelings which those words need to be conveyed. Valmiki not only conveyed the words to Lava and Kush not only learned the word, but they learned the spirit behind the words. And therefore, when Lava and Kush started propagating it, they went to every town and village, and thousands of people would gather just looking at these two beautiful boys. The voice of Love and Kush was so divine and so melodious and so beautiful. People would throng to hear them recite the Ramayana, and wherever they recited, they touched hearts so deeply. Lava Kush traveled the length and breadth of the Koshal province, narrating the Ramayana. And one particular sage, and wherever they went, the people were so happy and so grateful to Lava Kush for the narration, they would give them gifts. So many people were giving so many different types of gifts. And one particular sage gave them the greatest gift ever. And the gift was a blessing. The gift that the sage gave them was the person about whom you're narrating will one day hear your narration. And that was the greatest gift the Lava and Kush received among all the so many blessings that they received. And very soon, one particular day, Bharat was traveling around the kingdom and he caught sight of so many people listening to these two boys. And Bharat had no idea who these two boys were. He had no idea they were sons of Ram. And he requested the two boys to come and perform in Ayodhya, in the court of Ayodhya. And accordingly, the two young boys agreed to participate and perform in front of Lord Ram in the court of Ayodhya. And when Lava and Kush were invited to the court of Ayodhya and they began to recite the Ramayana, the entire narrative of the Valmiki Ramayana is through the mouth of Lava and Kush. So, which essentially means that as Lava and Kush were speaking the Ramayana, there was an audience, including Lord Ram, present there to hear the narration of the Ramayana. So it's the Valmiki Ramayana is in the form of a double narration, where Valmiki is writing the epic, but That particular epic, within that epic, is being narrated by Lavan Kush. So that's the style in which the narration happens. And Lavan Kush go on to describe in great detail about the entire Valmiki Ramayan's narration. And the interesting thing about this particular episode is that as Lavan Kush were narrating the Ramayana, Lord Ram was hearing his own story. And as Lavan Kush were narrating the Ramayana, they were looking at their own father and narrating. So Lavan Kush was so inspired by their own father. Mother Sita obviously told them who their father is. Mother Sita told them everything about their connection with their father. But Lord Ram didn't know about it. And he was amazed to look at the love and devotion of Lavan Kush. He was amazed to look at the depth of the narration of the story of the Ramayana. And not only that, the absorption was so high in the Ramayana that for the first time in the court of Ayodhya, no one looked at Ram. Everyone was looking at Lava and Kush. Historically, in the court of Ayodhya, this has never happened. Because when Ram is sitting on the throne, you cannot take your eyes off Lord Ram. That is the kind of persona that Ram had. But probably for the first time and the only time in the entire history of Ayodhya, people just didn't look at Ram. Because the Ramayana is more sweeter than Ram. So the only thing that is even better than Ram is the story of Ram. And therefore, when Lavan Kush were narrating the story so beautifully, everyone in Ayodhya, the court of Ayodhya, was just looking at Lavan Kush and they were just completely absorbed in the story of the Ramayana. And as Ram saw everyone so absorbed in the story of the Ramayana, he felt a little alone because there was nobody sitting next to him to enjoy the narration with. Usually, when you watch a movie or you are reading a book or you are listening to something exciting, you want to share it with someone else, right? It's always fun to share. But Ram was feeling a little strange because nobody was looking at him first of all, and then nobody was there to accompany him. So Ram actually got off from his throne. The acharyas explained that Ram actually got off very very carefully, not allowing a single noise, a single disturbance in the narration of the Ramayana. He didn't want anyone to lose their focus and shift their attention on him coming down. He came down from the throne, sat among the people, and he began to enjoy the narration of Ramayana along with everybody else. And the most amazing thing was nobody even noticed that he was sitting among them. They were just so rapt in attention at hearing Lavan Kush, and some of them actually, clapped with, on Ram's thighs, and some of them actually slapped on Ram's backs, and Ram was also just completely absorbed in the narration, hearing Hanuman's adventures and hearing all the funny things that the Vanaras did, and hearing every single thing in the narration. They were crying, they were laughing, they were, so many emotions they were experiencing. And that is the way in which Lavan Kush attracted the hearts of the Supreme Lord. Valmiki, in his Ramayana, he narrates the entire Ramayana. But the Acharyas give a little different explanation about the Ramayana. The word Ramayan means the story of Lord Ram. It could also mean the journey of Lord Ram. But the Sri Vaishnava Acharyas have a little different take on this. They say actually the word is not Ramayan. It should have ideally been Sitayan, because this is the story of Sita. This is not the story of Ram. Because in every canto of the Ramayana, there is actually the presence of Sita, and Sita is the main person in every canto. Like the Balakanda of the Ramayana is the story of Sita's marriage with Ram. The Ayodhya Kanda of the Ramayana is the story of Sita being exiled with Ram. The Aranya Kanda of the Ramayana is the story of Sita being kidnapped by Ravan. The Kishkinda Kanda of Ramayana is the story of search of Sita. The Sundara Kanda of the Ramayana is Hanuman finding Sita and conversing with Sita. The Yuddha Kanda of the Ramayana is a fight of Ram with Ravan so that they can rescue Sita and finally reuniting Sita with Ram. So literally every Kanda of the Ramayana is about Sita only. So the Acharya, the Sri Vaishnava Acharya say, Valmiki named it Ramayan because he was a man, and therefore he named it as Ramayan. But if he was not a man, he would have ideally named it as Sitayan. And the Acharyas say actually the word should have been Ramayan. Rama is another name of Mother Sita, and that is a more apt name for the Ramayan, they say. So like this, the presence of Mother Sita is through the Ramayan, and it's such a powerful experience. And as far as Valmiki Muni is concerned, Valmiki Muni is a great sage. Every saint, every great sage has a past and has a story that allows us to see the human side of him. Because when we see the human side of these great souls, you can actually develop hope in yourself. You can actually develop hope that even I, in my state, in my fallen state, in my not so developed state, I can reach someday, greatness. Valmiki Muni, in his previous life, earlier on, he was a hunter named Ratnakar, and Ratnakar, he lived like a regular hunter, and engaged in killing animals. And one day, Valmiki Muni was intervened by Narada. And Narada, when he saw Valmiki engaged in this activity of killing animals, he went and asked Valmiki, "Do you know what are the consequences of what you're doing?" Valmiki said, "How will I know? This is my occupation. I'm engaged in my occupation to feed my family." Narada Muni asked him, "Do you want to experience what you're going to go through?" And Narada Muni actually gave Valmiki like a PowerPoint presentation on what is going to happen to him, in the future if he continues this profession, basically. And when Valmiki saw all the intense experiences of hell that is waiting for him, he really panicked. And then he took shelter of Narada and asked him, "What do I do?" And Narada Muni inspired him to start chanting the names of Ram. No matter who we are, the only hope for anyone in this world is the holy names of the Lord. The holy names of the Lord are not different from the Lord. Abhinatvam nama namino. That means there is no difference between the name and the person. So when we chant the name Rama, we're actually experiencing the presence of Ram. There is no difference between the two. And Narada Muni explained to him the power and the efficacy of the holy name of Lord Ram. And Valmiki, because he was so much occupied with such a intense sinful profession, he was not even able to chant the name of Ram. And at that point in time, Narada, actually, being an expert preacher, the expertise of a preacher, of someone who is trying to inspire us with taking our spiritual life seriously, is that the preacher is very focused on giving the knowledge according to the level of the audience. So Narada found a very interesting way of inspiring Valmiki to chant the name of Ram. He realized he can't chant the name of Ram, so he told him, just chant the name Mara. Mara means death. And Valmiki is used to death all the time, and he is used to, the concept of death, isn't it? So he said, fine, I can chant Mara easily. And then as you keep chanting Mara, 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 it becomes a Rama, Mara, 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 you continuously chant it. Actually, you get the same benefit. The good part about chanting the holy names is that even when you're chanting the holy names with the wrong intention, you'll get the benefit of it. Even if you're chanting the holy names with the wrong pronunciation, you'll get the benefit of it. Even if you're chanting the holy names as a parihas, that means just to make fun, you'll get the benefit of it. Even if you're chanting the holy name just as a song or a gesture, just for some melody, you'll get the benefit of it. And therefore, Narad Muni, because he inspired Valmiki to chant the holy name like this, Valmiki began to chant the holy names of the Lord, and the names of Ram purified him so much. Because he chanted the holy names of Ram so intensely, he got so purified that he became qualified to write the Ramayana. That is the power of chanting the holy names of Ram. That someone who is an ordinary person can become the author of Valmiki Ramayana. That is the most remembered, revered, and worshipped literature in the entire universe for all time to come. And there will never be a time when Valmiki Ramayana will not be revered. This is an eternal scripture, and that is the power of chanting the holy names of the Lord. So Valmiki was so grateful to his teacher, Narada, and Narada gave him the name Valmiki because he emerged from an anthill. And when he was chanting the holy names of Ram, he got so absorbed that an anthill got formed all over him. And Valmiki didn't even understand that. And Narada Muni eventually, after many years, when he came back and he saw his disciple so purified and that a anthill is formed over him, he sprinkled water from his kamandalu and relieved Valmiki of the whole, uh, the pain. And because he emerged from a hill, from an ant hill, it's called Valmiki. And that is how Narad Muni revived him and gave him a new life, gave him a new vision, and gave him a new direction in his life. That is the greatness of the guru-disciple relationship. A great teacher inspires a great student, and a great student remains eternally grateful to a great teacher.
Shubhaji, thank you.
So
Shubhaji,
grateful,
can you tell
so
us
grateful
about
for
Narad
sharing the
Muni?
entire chapter with us.
Ji, ji. Shubhaji, can you tell us more about Narad Muni ji? More about him because he narrated the Ramayana.
Yeah. Narad Muni is considered to be a transcendental spaceman. He is considered to be one of the greatest teachers in the history of mankind. Some of the most powerful people in the world in our Vedic culture are disciples of Narad Muni, including Prahlad Maharaj, including Dhruva, including Valmiki, including Vyasa, including so many exalted personalities. Narada is someone who can give us Narayan. Narada, the one who can give us access to Lord Narayan is Narada. And Narada Muni's speciality is that he is not interested in propagating himself. He lives a very simple life, constantly chanting the holy names of the Lord, and traveling around the world, inspiring people to take shelter of the holy names of the Lord. And because he lives such a pure life, he is given access to any corner of the universe. He doesn't need a visa. He doesn't need stamping on his passport. He doesn't need any kind of invites to go here and there. He can just travel anywhere. Uh, those who live life based on serving the Supreme Lord's will, they actually get a lot of powers. An interesting thing about such powers is that they don't use those powers for themselves. These are called as siddhis, and such people are called as nitya siddha. Nitya siddha means these are perfected human beings, and siddhis are powers that they have. All the powers that Narada Muni and great sages like Narada have, they use it for loka sangraha. They use it for helping the world. With great power comes great responsibility, isn't it? And that responsibility is not meant just for your own sake. It is meant for upliftment of human society. And great sages like Narada Muni, they tirelessly travel around. They tirelessly move around. And the most amazing thing is that just when you need help, they are there. Just when you need direction in life, they are there. And that is the tie up between the Paramatma and such sages. There is almost like a constant chat communication between the Paramatma and great sages and Narada Muni. The Paramatma sends live location to Narada to go and help those who really need help at the right time. And therefore, you'll find in so many stories in the Vedic scriptures, Narada Muni reaches the nick of time. When somebody needs direction and help, he's there. And how he is there? I mean, how does he know that somebody needs help at that point in time? That's the beauty of these three things: Bhakta, Bhagavan, and Bhakti. They're interconnected, and there is a solid synchrony between these three, and that is how Narada Muni is able to install the software of Bhakti in so many people's hearts because Bhagavan is inspiring him to reach the right place at the right time and help the right person.
Ji, Mummy, Would you like to do a sum up? There is a little, or do we?
This chapter needs no summing up. It was about direct story, which was read, but what I underlined in it, I'll share that. What I liked and which I underlined, which is very nice. Where Bhardwaj says, the river is like the mind of a noble man. When he got into that muddy water and he got into cleaner water, that's when it was said. He said, the Narad Muni said to Bhardwaj, the river is like the mind of a noble man, free from the filth of craving. It is clean, pure, and shines with goodness. It is calm and radiates happiness all around. I like this portion which I marked from this chapter. Second portion which I loved and I marked was this. Well, I like the story of Ratnakar, who was that cruel and infamous sadist, how he was transformed. But it's another thing where I liked your chapter where you wrote, Narad Muni spoke in a melodious, soft, lifting voice, which is very good for our readers today, which also made me very conscious of what I say, what I do. It says when he was killing people, he was killing animals, he says, why are you accumulating so many sins by inflicting suffering upon the innocent? Don't you understand that what goes around comes back, comes around? Every sin that is committed is definitely going to fructify in the form of a future suffering you have to undergo. The voice froze Ratnakar to a halt. Gathering his composure, he promptly attempted to justify his actions. This is what I thought I'll explain to you. And he said, I do all this killing to earn for my family. And that's what he says. I do this with the sole aim of feeding my family. And then Narad Muni said, all right, told him that it was his aim. His family should be willing to share the burden of his sins. So go and check with your family. Will they share the burden of the sins? And this paragraph says, he went to the family that I earn all the sin for you to feed you all. Will you bear the burden of my sins? And he came back to say, no family said, we will. He said, nobody was willing to participate. And that's when he realized he crestfallen came back. This brutal response shocked Ratnakar. Crestfallen, he went back to Narad Muni. Ratnakar could now be helped. Prostrate at Narad's Muni's feet, Ratnakar asked him to solve his dilemma. The fear that his sins would engulf him aggravated Ratnakar's anxiety and he implored the Muni for guidance. And that's where he started to chant the name of Lord Ram. That's how he came back. Basically, this is wonderful. I thought these were wonderful two messages from this chapter for us. One is about the mind, and second is about the sins which we carry forward. It's a bank account, and you have to take the burden of self. Nobody's there. Even if you've done the sins for the family and the friends, with whatever, you alone will bear the burden. It cannot be shared. Even if you did it for others, you are the one who is the sinner. Third, which I would like to believe, really, if you ask me, is that what you said is that if you speak so many names of Rama, you can get out of the sins. I would like to believe that. And I'm telling you, really nice, because that's a big relief for many of us who've sinned so much in the past. Is this? He says, you said it in the footnotes, I think. Shivaji, you said it in the
Yes,
footnote.
correct.
It is believed, you said, page 3. It is believed that chanting the core 92 verses, verses 1.8 to 1.100, as Narad Muni had, is equivalent to reciting the entire Ramayana comprising of 24,000 words. Now, also somewhere in the book, which I'm find a chapter unable to locate, that does it clear you of your past sins?
Yes,
Chanting the name?
the holy name of the of Lord of the Lord. When you chant it, not only helps you with purifying yourself of all future sins, but it also clears all the past sins that you have ever committed, not only in this life, but in all previous lives.
I would love to believe this.
This is a scriptural statement.
After I read your book chapter, I started to chant Ram Ram all the time.
Wow.
The
Jai.
good news is that my office help here is Ram. So I'm going to continue to call him Ram. Come out, idhar आओ. Because you
Absolutely.
also said Ram का नाम किसी नाम पर भी लो, ये आपको काम आता है,
Correct.
isn't it? So
Absolutely.
I think the Ram will be very happy to hear कि हम उसका नाम लेते हैं तो हमारा भला भी हो रहा है. It's been a wonderful
Yes.
reading of your chapter, Shubhaji.
Thank you.
I've seen
Thank
your next chapter is all about Ayodhya a lot. I think the
Yes.
readers who are listening to this show can look forward to a lot about Ayodhya next month when we discuss the same book of yours with them. So grateful to you for this book and this chapter. I loved reading it so simply the way you started it. Thank you so much, Shubhaji. Thank you,
Thank
Sana.
you.
You can thank Shubhaji.
जी, हमारा अगला चैप्टर
Will be on
अगले
Ayodhya.
महीने होगा,
A lot on
मिरेकल
Ayodhya.
कॉल अयोध्या.
Ayodhya.
शुभा जी, थैंक यू सो मच. प्रणाम टू यू.
Thank you so
हमारी
much.
ऑडियंसेस का
Very
बहुत बहुत
grateful and
शुक्रिया.
honored to be
हमारा
here.
सत्संग
on this show.
आज
आपने
हमारा सत्संग हो गया फिर से.
जी, आपने आज इस चैप्टर से जाना. Grace can come in any form.
Yeah.
You just never know. But keep your conduct and keep your character
Bank
at their
account
feet.
of
At their
Adman.
feet. Keep it at their feet.
They cannot be shared.
जी, कोशिश करिए. Be a product of mercy, करुणा, कृपा. Be a product of grace.
ठीक है.
आपको मिलेंगे अगले
Next
महीने
month. On
एक और
chapter 2 of this book. Till then, you can read on your own too. Maybe send us some questions if you have any on our demonstrative learning website, and we will pose these questions back to Shubhaji. So, if any one of you have questions on the first chapter we've discussed or on the book, you can send us the questions on our demonstrative learning website. That's our YouTube channel and also our website. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you very
Shubha
much.
Jai
ji.
Shri Ram.
जय
Jai
हरि
Jai
राम.
Shri Ram. Thank you.
Yes.
जय हरि माँ, जय सिया राम. हरे
That's
कृष्ण.
wonderful.
जय धन्य.
Thank you. Thank
जय
you.
सीता राम. हरे
So
कृष्ण.
grateful. So grateful to you.